Welcome to the Bible Quiz and Trivia channel. Today, we've got 100 of the toughest questions from the book of Genesis that will put your knowledge of the Bible's first book to the ultimate test. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like this video to support our content. After the quiz, share your score in the comments. We love seeing how well you do. Are you ready? Let's get started. Question 1. What does the name Genesis mean? A. Beginning. B. Covenant. C. Creation. D. Journey. Answer: A. Beginning. The word Genesis means beginning or origin. Genesis is the first book of the Bible and describes the creation of the world, the origins of humanity, and the early patriarchs. Genesis 1:1 begins with, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth," emphasizing the book's theme of beginnings. Question 2. On which day did God create the expanse called sky? A. First day. B. Second day. C. Third day. D. Fourth day. Answer: B. Second day. On the second day of creation, God created the expanse, which he calls sky. Genesis 1:6-8 states, "And God said, let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water. So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky. This separated the waters, forming the sky above and the waters below." Question 3. What was the first thing God created? A. Sky. B. Earth. C. Light. D. Water. Answer: C. Light. The first thing God created was light. Genesis 1-3 says, "And God said, let there be light, and there was light." This act of creation brought order out of chaos and marked the beginning of God's creative work in forming the universe. Question 4. Who were the sons of Lamech? A. Cain, Abel, Seth. B. Ham, Shem, Japheth. C. Jabal, Jubal, Tubal, Cain. D. Esau, Jacob, Reuben. Answer: C. Jabal, Jubal, Tubal, Cain. Lamech had 3 sons named Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal, Cain. Genesis 4:20-22 describes them. Jabal was the father of those who live in tents and raise livestock. Jubal was the father of all who play stringed instruments and pipes, and Tubal-Cain was a forger of all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron. Each son played a significant role in early human culture. Question 5. How old was Adam when his third son, Seth, was born? A. 100 years. B. 130 years. C. 150 years. D. 200 years. Answer: B. 130 years. Adam was 130 years old when his son Seth was born. Genesis 5:3 states, "When Adam had lived 130 years, he had a son in his own likeness, in his own image, and he named him Seth." Seth was born after Cain killed Abel, and he carried on Adam's line. Question 6. How long did it take Noah to build the ark? A. 50 years. B. 70 years. C. 100 years. D. 120 years. Answer: C. 100 years. While the Bible does not explicitly state how many years it took Noah to build the ark, it can be inferred that it took around 100 years. Genesis 6:3 says, "Then the Lord said, My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years." This is thought to be the time given for people to repent, and Noah used much of this time to construct the ark. Question 7. How many people were saved from the flood? A. 8. B. 10. C. 12. D. 14. Answer: A. 8. 8 people were saved from the flood. Noah, his wife, his three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. 1 Peter 3:20 states, "In it only a few people, 8 in all, were saved through water." These 8 people became the ancestors of all humanity after the flood. Question 8. What was the first bird that Noah sent out from the ark? A. Dove. B. Raven. C. Sparrow. D. Owl. Answer: B. Raven. Noah first sent out a raven from the ark. Genesis 8-7 states, "He sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth." The raven did not return to Noah, unlike the dove that was sent out later. Question 9. What was the name of the plain where the Tower of Babel was built? A. Shinar. B. Goshen. C. Canaan. D. Edom. Answer: A. Shinar. The Tower of Babel was built on the plain of Shinar. Genesis 11-2 says, "As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there." The people decided to build a tower to reach the heavens, which led God to confuse their languages and scatter them over the earth. Question 10. Who was Abram's father? A. Nahor. B. Terah. C. Laban. D. Haran. Answer: B. Terah. Terah was Abram's father. Genesis 11:26 says, "After Terah had lived 70 years, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran." Terah and his family initially set out for Canaan, but they settled in Haran, where he died. Question 11. At what age did Abram leave Haran for Canaan? A. 50. B. 75. C. 85. D. 100. Answer: B. 75. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran to go to Canaan as instructed by God. Genesis 12-4 says, "So Abram went, as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him." Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. Question 12. What was the original name of Abraham? A. Abram. B. Abimelech. C. Aharon. D. Azar. Answer: A. Abram. The original name of Abraham was Abram. Genesis 17-5 says, "No longer will you be called Abram, your name will be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations." God changed Abram's name to Abraham as a sign of the covenant to make him the father of many nations. Question 13. Who was the king of Salem who blessed Abram? A. Melchizedek. B. Abimelech. C. Pharaoh. D. Adonizedek. Answer: A. Melchizedek. Melchizedek was the king of Salem who blessed Abram. Genesis 14:18-19 states, "Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram." Melchizedek was both a king and a priest, and his blessing of Abram is a significant moment in biblical history. Question 14. What was the name of Abram's nephew who traveled with him? A. Lot. B. Nahor. C. Haran. D. Esau. Answer: A. Lot. Lot was Abram's nephew who traveled with him. Genesis 12-5 says, "He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had accumulated and the people they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan." Lot eventually settled in the city of Sodom, which faced destruction. Question 15. How many kings did Abraham defeat to rescue Lot? A. 3. B. 4. C. 5. D. 6. Answer: B. 4. Abraham defeated 4 kings to rescue Lot. Genesis 14:16 states that Abraham pursued and defeated the coalition of four kings, including King Chedorlaomer, to rescue Lot and recover the captured goods and people. Question 16. What was Sarah's original name? A. Sarai. B. Miriam. C. Deborah. D. Rachel. Answer: A. Sarai. Sarah's original name was Sarai. Genesis 17:15 says, God also said to Abraham, As for Sarai your wife, you are no longer to call her Sarai. Her name will be Sarah. God changed her name as a part of the covenant that promised her descendants through Isaac. Question 17. How old was Abraham when Ishmael was born? A. 70. B. 86. C. 90. D. 100. Answer: B. 86. Abraham was 86 years old when Ishmael was born. Genesis 16:16 says, Abraham was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael. Ishmael was born to Hagar, Sarah's maidservant, at Sarah's request. Question 18. What city did Lot and his family escape from before its destruction? A. Sodom. B. Gomorrah. C. Nineveh. D. Jericho. Answer: A. Sodom. Lot and his family escaped from the city of Sodom before its destruction. Genesis 19:15-17 says, With the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, Hurry, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished. Question 19. What was the name of the well where Hagar encountered an angel? A. Bir Lahai Roi. B. Meribah. C. Rehoboth. D. En Rogel. Answer: A. Bir Lahai Roi. The well where Hagar encountered an angel was named Bir Lahai Roi. Genesis 16:13-14 states, She gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees me, for she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. That is why the well was called Bir Lahai Roi. Question 20. Who was the son of Abraham and Sarah? A. Isaac. B. Ishmael. C. Esau. D. Jacob. Answer: A. Isaac. The son of Abraham and Sarah was Isaac. Genesis 21:2-3 says, Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the very time God had promised him. Abraham gave the name Isaac to the son Sarah bore him. Isaac was the child of promise, born in Abraham and Sarah's old age as fulfillment of God's covenant. Question 21. How old was Abraham when Isaac was born? A. 90 years old. B. 75 years old. C. 100 years old. D. 120 years old. Answer: C. 100 years old. Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. Genesis 21:5 says, Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. This was the fulfillment of God's promise that Sarah would bear a child in her old age. Question 22. What did God provide as a substitute for Isaac during the sacrifice? A. A lamb. B. A goat. C. A ram. D. A bull. Answer: C. A ram. When Abraham was about to sacrifice Isaac, God provided a ram as a substitute. Genesis 22:13 says, Abraham looked up, and there in a thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. This event symbolized God's provision and Abraham's obedience. Question 23. What was the name of Isaac's wife? A. Rachel. B. Leah. C. Rebekah. D. Sarah. Answer: C. Rebekah. Isaac's wife was Rebekah, whom Abraham's servant found for him. Genesis 24-67 says, Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah, and he married Rebekah. So she became his wife, and he loved her. Rebekah was chosen because of her kindness and willingness to serve. Question 24. Who was the servant Abraham sent to find a wife for Isaac? A. Eliezer. B. Laban. C. Eleazar. D. Ishmael. Answer: A. Eliezer. Although the servant's name isn't mentioned in Genesis 24, he is often believed to be Eliezer, who served Abraham faithfully. Genesis 24-2 says, Abraham said to the senior servant in his household, the one in charge of all that he had, put your hand under my thigh. Question 25. What did Abraham's servant give Rebekah as a gift when he met her? A. A ring. B. A gold nose ring and bracelets. C. Silver coins. D. A necklace. Answer: B. A gold nose ring and bracelets. When Abraham's servant met Rebekah, he gave her a gold nose ring and bracelets. Genesis 24:22 says, When the camels had finished drinking, the man took out a gold nose ring weighing the beka and 2 gold bracelets weighing 10 shekels. Question 26. Who was Rebekah's brother? A. Nahor. B. Laban. C. Esau. D. Lot. Answer: B. Laban. Rebekah's brother was Laban. Genesis 24:29 says, Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban, and he hurried out to the man at the spring. Laban later becomes a significant figure in Jacob's life when Jacob works for him to marry Rachel and Leah. Question 27. What did Esau sell his birthright for? A. A bowl of lentil stew. B. A loaf of bread. C. A lamb. D. A cup of wine. Answer: A. A bowl of lentil stew. Esau sold his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of lentil stew. Genesis 25:34 says, Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank, and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. This impulsive decision had long-term consequences for Esau. Question 28. How old was Isaac when he married Rebekah? A. 20 years old. B. 30 years old. C. 40 years old. D. 50 years old. Answer: C. 40 years old. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah. Genesis 25:20 says, And Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel the Aramean from Paddan Aram, and sister of Laban the Aramean. Question 29. Who were the 2 sons of Isaac and Rebekah? A. Jacob and Esau. B. Joseph and Benjamin. C. Levi and Simeon. D. Reuben and Judah. Answer: A. Jacob and Esau. Isaac and Rebekah had twin sons named Jacob and Esau. Genesis 25:24-25 says, When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out, with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob. Question 30. What was the name of the place where Jacob had a dream of a ladder reaching to heaven? A. Bethel. B. Hebron. C. Beersheba. D. Mount Moriah. Answer: A. Bethel. Jacob had a dream of a ladder reaching to heaven at a place he later named Bethel. Genesis 28:19 says, He called that place Bethel, though the city used to be called Luz. Bethel means house of God, and the dream was a significant moment in Jacob's life. Question 31. What was the name of Laban's eldest daughter? A. Rachel. B. Bilhah. C. Zilpah. D. Leah. Answer D. Leah. Laban's eldest daughter was Leah. Genesis 29:16 says, Now Laban had two daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was given to Jacob in marriage before Rachel, even though Jacob had worked for Rachel. Question 32. How long did Jacob work for Laban to marry Rachel? A. 3 years. B. 7 years. C. 10 years. D. 14 years. Answer B. 7 years. Jacob worked for Laban for 7 years to marry Rachel, but Laban tricked him into marrying Leah first. Genesis 29:20 says, So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. After this, he worked another 7 years to marry Rachel. Question 33. How many children did Leah bear to Jacob? A. 3. B. 4. C. 6. D. 7. Answer C. 6. Leah bore 6 sons to Jacob: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, along with a daughter Dinah. Genesis 35:23 says, The sons of Leah: Reuben the firstborn of Jacob, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. Question 34. What was the name of Rachel's first son? A. Benjamin. B. Joseph. C. Judah. D. Dan. Answer B. Joseph. Rachel's first son was Joseph. Genesis 30:22-24 says, Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and enabled her to conceive. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son and said, God has taken away my disgrace. She named him Joseph. Question 35. Who wrestled with an angel until dawn? A. Abraham. B. Isaac. C. Jacob. D. Esau. Answer C. Jacob. Jacob wrestled with an angel until dawn. Genesis 32:24 says, So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. This event marked a turning point in Jacob's life, leading to his name being changed to Israel. Question 36. What was Jacob's name changed to after he wrestled with an angel? A. Judah. B. Benjamin. C. Israel. D. Isaac. Answer C. Israel. After wrestling with the angel, Jacob's name was changed to Israel. Genesis 32:28 says, Then the man said, Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome. Question 37. Who was Dinah and what happened to her? A. Jacob's wife. She was barren. B. Jacob's daughter. She was defiled by Shechem. C. Isaac's sister. She was kidnapped. D. Esau's daughter. She was killed in battle. Answer B. Jacob's daughter. She was defiled by Shechem. Dinah was Jacob's daughter, and she was defiled by Shechem, the son of Hamor. Genesis 34:2 says, When Shechem, son of Hamor the Hivite, the ruler of that area, saw her, he took her and raped her. Question 38. Who was the favorite son of Jacob? A. Reuben. B. Judah. C. Joseph. D. Benjamin. Answer C. Joseph. Joseph was Jacob's favorite son, born to him by Rachel, his beloved wife. Genesis 37:3 states, Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him. This favoritism led to jealousy among his brothers, eventually resulting in them selling Joseph into slavery. Question 39. What special gift did Jacob give to Joseph? A. A golden crown. B. A silver bracelet. C. An ornate robe. D. A shepherd's staff. Answer: C. An ornate robe. Jacob gave Joseph an ornate robe, which symbolized his special affection for Joseph. Genesis 37:3 says, "Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him." This robe, also referred to as the coat of many colors, became a symbol of the favoritism that Joseph's brothers resented, ultimately leading them to betray him. Question 40. What was the name of the captain of the guard to whom Joseph was sold in Egypt? A. Pharaoh. B. Potiphar. C. Zaphanath. D. Hamer. Answer: B. Potiphar. Joseph was sold to Potiphar, who was the captain of the guard in Egypt. Genesis 39:1 says, "Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there." Potiphar's house became the place where Joseph demonstrated his integrity and ability, even as he faced false accusations from Potiphar's wife. Question 41. What did Potiphar's wife falsely accuse Joseph of? A. Stealing from Potiphar. B. Planning to escape. C. Attempting to assault her. D. Blaspheming against the gods. Answer: C. Attempting to assault her. Potiphar's wife falsely accused Joseph of attempting to assault her. Genesis 39:17-18 says, "Then she told him this story. That Hebrew slave you brought us came to me to make sport of me. But as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house." This false accusation led to Joseph's imprisonment. Question 42. How many dreams did Pharaoh have that Joseph interpreted? A. 1. B. 2. C. 3. D. 4. Answer: B. 2. Pharaoh had 2 dreams that Joseph interpreted. Genesis 41:25 says, "Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, 'The dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do.' The first dream was about 7 healthy cows and 7 gaunt cows, and the second was about 7 healthy ears of grain and 7 thin ears of grain." Question 43. What were the dreams of Pharaoh about? A. Egypt's war with its neighbors. B. A famine in the land. C. Pharaoh's legacy. D. The rise and fall of kingdoms. Answer: B. A famine in the land. Pharaoh's dreams were about an upcoming famine in the land. Genesis 41:30-31 says, "But 7 years of famine will follow them. Then all the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will ravage the land." Joseph interpreted the dreams as a warning to prepare for 7 years of famine following 7 years of plenty. Question 44. What title did Pharaoh give to Joseph? A. Governor of Egypt. B. Prince of Egypt. C. Chief of Pharaoh's court. D. Overseer of the land. Answer: A. Governor of Egypt. Pharaoh appointed Joseph as the governor of Egypt, second in command to Pharaoh himself. Genesis 41:40-41 says, "You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you." So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." Question 45. How many brothers did Joseph have? A. 10. B. 11. C. 12. D. 9. Answer: B. 11. Joseph had 11 brothers. Genesis 35:23-26 lists them: the sons of Leah, Reuben the firstborn of Jacob, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun; the sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin; the sons of Rachel's servant Bilhah, Dan and Naphtali; the sons of Leah's servant Zilpah, Gad, and Asher. Question 46. What was the name of Joseph's wife? A. Zilpah. B. Dinah. C. Asenath. D. Tamar. Answer C. Asenath. Joseph's wife was Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. Genesis 41:45 says, Pharaoh gave Joseph the name Zaphenath Paneah and gave him Asenath, daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, to be his wife. Question 47. Who were the two sons of Joseph? A. Ephraim and Manasseh. B. Judah and Benjamin. C. Reuben and Simeon. D. Dan and Gad. Answer A. Ephraim and Manasseh. Joseph had two sons named Ephraim and Manasseh. Genesis 41:50-51 says, Before the years of famine came, two sons were born to Joseph by Asenath, daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. Joseph named his firstborn Manasseh and said, It is because God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household. Question 48. Why did Jacob's family go to Egypt? A. To escape famine. B. To conquer new land. C. To attend a wedding. D. To visit Joseph. Answer A. To escape famine. Jacob's family went to Egypt to escape the severe famine in Canaan. Genesis 42:1-2 says, When Jacob learned that there was grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, Why do you just keep looking at each other? He continued, I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy some for us, so that we may live and not die. Question 49. What did Joseph put in Benjamin's sack to test his brothers? A. A golden cup. B. Silver coins. C. A robe. D. Wheat. Answer A. A golden cup. Joseph tested his brothers by placing his silver cup in Benjamin's sack. Genesis 44:2 says, Then put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, along with the silver for his grain. This test was part of Joseph's plan to see how his brothers would react when Benjamin was accused of theft. Question 50. How old was Jacob when he went to Egypt? A. 110 years old. B. 120 years old. C. 130 years old. D. 100 years old. Answer C. 130 years old. Jacob was 130 years old when he went to Egypt. Genesis 47:9 says, And Jacob said to Pharaoh, The years of my pilgrimage are 130. My years have been few and difficult, and they do not equal the years of the pilgrimage of my fathers. Question 51. How many people went to Egypt with Jacob's family? A. 70. B. 100. C. 50. D. 90. Answer A. 70. 70 members of Jacob's family went to Egypt with him. Genesis 46:27 says, With the two sons who had been born to Joseph in Egypt, the members of Jacob's family which went to Egypt were 70 in all. Question 52. Where did Jacob and his family settle in Egypt? A. Goshen. B. Canaan. C. Thebes. D. Memphis. Answer A. Goshen. Jacob and his family settled in the land of Goshen, which was fertile and suitable for raising livestock. Genesis 47:6 says, And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Settle your father and your brothers in the best part of the land. Let them live in Goshen. Question 53. What did Joseph's brothers fear after Jacob died? A. That Joseph would enslave them. B. That Joseph would take revenge. C. That they would be banished. D. That they would lose their inheritance. Answer B. that Joseph would take revenge. Joseph's brothers feared that he would take revenge on them after their father Jacob died. Genesis 50:15 says, "When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, 'What if Joseph holds a grudge against us and pays us back for all the wrongs we did to him?'" Question 54. How did Joseph respond to his brothers' fear after their father's death? A. He forgave them. B. He banished them. C. He took them as slaves. D. He ignored them. Answer. A. He forgave them. Joseph forgave his brothers and reassured them. Genesis 50:19-20 says, "But Joseph said to them, 'Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives.'" Question 55. How long did Jacob live in Egypt? A. 10 years. B. 15 years. C. 17 years. D. 20 years. Answer. C. 17 years. Jacob lived in Egypt for 17 years before his death. Genesis 47:28 says, "Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years, and the years of his life were 147. Question 56. How old was Jacob when he died? A. 147 years old. B. 130 years old. C. 120 years old. D. 140 years old. Answer. A. 147 years old. Jacob was 147 years old when he died. Genesis 47:28 states, "Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years, and the years of his life were 147. Question 57. Where did Jacob want to be buried? A. In Egypt. B. In Canaan with his ancestors. C. In the wilderness. D. In the land of Goshen. Answer. B. In Canaan with his ancestors. Jacob requested to be buried in the land of Canaan with his ancestors. Genesis 49:29-30 says, "Then he gave them these instructions. I am about to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave in the field of Ephron the Hittite." Question 58. How long did the Egyptians mourn for Jacob? A. 30 days. B. 50 days. C. 40 days. D. 70 days. Answer. D. 70 days. The Egyptians mourned for Jacob for 70 days. Genesis 50:3 says, "Taking a full 40 days, for that was the time required for embalming, and the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. Question 59. How old was Joseph when he died? A. 120 years old. B. 90 years old. C. 110 years old. D. 130 years old. Answer. C. 110 years old. Joseph was 110 years old when he died. Genesis 50:26 says, "So Joseph died at the age of 110, and after they embalmed him, he was placed in a coffin in Egypt." Question 60. What promise did Joseph ask the Israelites to make before his death? A. To bury him in Canaan. B. To follow Pharaoh's laws. C. To keep his wealth for his descendants. D. To never leave Egypt. Answer. A. To bury him in Canaan. Joseph made the Israelites promise to carry his bones back to Canaan when God would eventually lead them out of Egypt. Genesis 50:25 says, "And Joseph made the Israelites swear an oath and said, 'God will surely come to your aid, and then you must carry my bones up from this place.'" Question 61. Who was Cain's wife? A. Abel's daughter. B. A woman from Nod. C. One of his sisters. D. A Canaanite woman. Answer. C. one of his sisters. Though the Bible does not explicitly name Cain's wife, it is generally understood that Cain married one of his sisters, as Adam and Eve had many sons and daughters. Genesis 5-4 says, after Seth was born, Adam lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Early humanity expanded through sibling marriages due to the small population. Question 62. Who built the first city mentioned in Genesis? A. Noah. B. Lamech. C. Cain. D. Seth. Answer: C. Cain. Cain built the first city mentioned in Genesis. Genesis 4:17 says, Cain was then building a city, and he named it after his son Enoch. This city marked the beginning of urban civilization after Cain's banishment. Question 63. How old was Methuselah when he died? A. 912 years old. B. 869 years old. C. 900 years old. D. 969 years old. Answer: D. 969 years old. Methuselah lived to be 969 years old, making him the oldest recorded person in the Bible. Genesis 5:27 says, altogether, Methuselah lived a total of 969 years, and then he died. Question 64. Who were the wives of Lamech? A. Leah and Rachel. B. Bilhah and Zilpah. C. Adah and Zillah. D. Sarah and Hagar. Answer: C. Adah and Zillah. Lamech had two wives named Adah and Zillah. Genesis 4:19 says, Lamech married two women, one named Adah and the other Zillah. Lamech's polygamous lifestyle marked a shift from the monogamous pattern established by Adam and Eve. Question 65. What was the covenant God made with Noah? A. To make him a great nation. B. To never destroy the earth with a flood again. C. To give him descendants as numerous as the stars. D. To provide manna from heaven. Answer: B. To never destroy the earth with a flood again. God made a covenant with Noah, promising never to destroy the earth with a flood again. Genesis 9:11 says, I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be destroyed by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. Question 66. What was the sign of the covenant between God and Noah? A. A rainbow. B. A star. C. A dove. D. A pillar of fire. Answer: A. A rainbow. The sign of the covenant between God and Noah was a rainbow. Genesis 9:13 says, I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Question 67. Who were the sons of Noah? A. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. B. Cain, Abel, and Seth. C. Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael. D. Reuben, Simeon, and Levi. Answer: A. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Noah had three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Genesis 9:18 says, the sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Question 68. What was the name of Nimrod's kingdom? A. Babylon. B. Egypt. C. Assyria. D. Edom. Answer: A. Babylon. Nimrod's kingdom included Babylon. Genesis 10:10 says, the first centers of his kingdom were Babylon, Uruk, Akkad, and Calneh, and Shinar. Nimrod is described as a mighty hunter and ruler. Question 69. Who was the father of Terah? A. Nahor. B. Haran. C. Sarad. D. Peleg. Answer: A. Nahor. Nahor was the father of Terah. Genesis 11:24 says, when Nahor had lived 29 years, he became the father of Terah. Question 70. How did Lot's wife die? A. She was struck by lightning. B. She drowned in the Red Sea. C. She turned into a pillar of salt. D. She fell from a mountain. Answer. C. She turned into a pillar of salt. Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt when she looked back at the destruction of Sodom. Genesis 19:26 says, but Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Question 71. What were the names of Lot's daughter's children? A. Moab and Ben-Ammi. B. Esau and Jacob. C. Isaac and Ishmael. D. Reuben and Gad. Answer. A. Moab and Ben-Ammi. Lot's daughters bore him two sons named Moab and Ben-Ammi. Genesis 19:37-38 says, the older daughter had a son, and she named him Moab. He is the father of the Moabites of today. The younger daughter also had a son, and she named him Ben-Ammi. He is the father of the Ammonites of today. Question 72. What was the meaning of the name Isaac? A. Laughter. B. Strong. C. Blessed. D. Beloved. Answer. A. Laughter. The name Isaac means laughter. Genesis 21:6 says, Sarah said, God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. Isaac's name reflected the joy of his miraculous birth to Sarah in her old age. Question 73. Who were the descendants of Ishmael? A. 12 rulers. B. The tribes of Israel. C. The Amalekites. D. The Philistines. Answer. A. 12 rulers. Ishmael's descendants became 12 rulers. Genesis 17:20 says, and as for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will surely bless him. I will make him fruitful and will greatly increase his numbers. He will be the father of 12 rulers, and I will make him into a great nation. Question 74. Where did Hagar find water in the desert? A. The Nile River. B. A spring of water. C. The Jordan River. D. A well in Beersheba. Answer. B. A spring of water. Hagar found a spring of water in the desert after fleeing from Sarah. Genesis 16:7 says, the angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was the spring that is beside the road to Shur. Question 75. What did Abraham name the place where God provided a ram instead of Isaac? A. Bethel. B. Moriah. C. Jehovah-Jireh. D. Hebron. Answer. C. Jehovah-Jireh. Abraham named the place Jehovah-Jireh, meaning the Lord will provide. Genesis 22:14 says, so Abraham called that place the Lord will provide. And to this day it is said, on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. Question 76. Who was the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother? A. Rebekah. B. Milcah. C. Leah. D. Zipporah. Answer. B. Milcah. Milcah was the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother. Genesis 22:22 says, sometime later Abraham was told, Milcah is also a mother. She has borne sons to your brother Nahor. Question 77. How many camels did Abraham's servant take when he went to find a wife for Isaac? A. 5. B. 8. C. 10. D. 12. Answer. C. 10. Abraham's servant took 10 camels with him to find a wife for Isaac. Genesis 24:10 says, then the servant left, taking with him 10 of his master's camels loaded with all kinds of good things from his master. Question 78. What did Rebekah offer to do for Abraham's servant? A. Cook him a meal. B. Draw water for him and his camels. C. Provide him lodging. D. Sew a garment for him. Answer B. Draw water for him and his camels. Rebekah offered to draw water for Abraham's servant and his camels. Genesis 24:18-19 says, "Drink, my lord," she said, and quickly lowered her jar to her hands and gave him a drink. After she had given him a drink, she said, "I'll draw water for your camels too, until they have had enough to drink." Question 79. Who was Leah's servant, who bore children to Jacob? A. Bilhah. B. Zilpah. C. Dinah. D. Tamar. Answer B. Zilpah. Zilpah was Leah's servant who bore children to Jacob. Genesis 30:9-10 says, "When Leah saw that she had stopped having children, she took her servant Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son." Question 80. How many children did Bilhah bear to Jacob? A1, B3, C2, D4. Answer C2. Bilhah bore 2 sons to Jacob. Genesis 30:7 says, Rachel's servant Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Question 81. Who were the sons of Zilpah? A. Reuben and Simeon. B. Gad and Asher. C. Joseph and Benjamin. D. Levi and Judah. Answer B. Gad and Asher. Zilpah, Leah's servant, bore 2 sons to Jacob, named Gad and Asher. Genesis 30:10-11 says, Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, "What good fortune!" So she named him Gad. Question 82. Why did Jacob leave Laban secretly? A. He was commanded by God to return home. B. Laban threatened to harm him. C. His wives wanted to leave. D. Laban was treating him unfairly. Answer A. He was commanded by God to return home. Jacob left Laban secretly because God commanded him to return to his homeland. Genesis 31:3 says, Then the Lord said to Jacob, "Go back to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you." He left without telling Laban to avoid confrontation. Question 83. How many times did God appear to Abraham? A. 3. B. 4. C. 5. D. 7. Answer D. 7. God appeared to Abraham 7 times. Each appearance was significant in the unfolding of God's covenant and promises to Abraham, beginning with the call to leave his homeland, Genesis 12:1-3. Question 84. Where did Jacob and Esau meet to reconcile? A. Bethel. B. Beersheba. C. Penuel. D. Haran. Answer C. Penuel. Jacob and Esau reconciled at Penuel after Jacob had wrestled with an angel. Genesis 32:30 says, So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "It is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." Question 85. How many years did Jacob live in Haran? A. 7 years. B. 14 years. C. 20 years. D. 25 years. Answer C. 20 years. Jacob lived in Haran for 20 years, working for Laban. Genesis 31:38 says, I have been with you for 20 years now. Your sheep and goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten rams from your flocks. Question 86. What was the name of the place where Jacob set up a pillar and named it Bethel? A. Luz. B. Beersheba. C. Hebron. D. Shechem. Answer A. Luz. Jacob renamed the place Luz to Bethel after his dream of the ladder reaching to heaven. Genesis 28:19 says, he called that place Bethel, though the city used to be called Luz. Question 87. How many days did it take for Joseph's brothers to recognize him? A. 1 day. B. 3 days. C. 5 days. D. They recognized him immediately. Answer B. 3 days. It took 3 days for Joseph's brothers to recognize him. Joseph had not revealed his identity initially and spoke harshly to them. Genesis 42:17 says, and he put them all in custody for 3 days. Question 88. What did Pharaoh do after hearing of Joseph's brothers' arrival? A. Imprisoned them. B. Gave them land in Goshen. C. Sent them back to Canaan. D. Ordered them to serve in the army. Answer B. Gave them land in Goshen. Pharaoh, pleased with Joseph, gave Joseph's brothers and family land in Goshen. Genesis 47:6 says, and Pharaoh said to Joseph, the land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best part of the land. Let them live in Goshen. Question 89. Who was the firstborn of Jacob? A. Reuben. B. Judah. C. Joseph. D. Levi. Answer A. Reuben. Reuben was Jacob's firstborn. Genesis 29:32 says, Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben, for she said, it is because the Lord has seen my misery. Surely my husband will love me now. Question 90. What did Joseph dream about that made his brothers jealous? A. 12 stars bowing down to him. B. A chariot of fire. C. A ladder to heaven. D. The burning bush. Answer A. 12 stars bowing down to him. Joseph dreamed of 12 stars, representing his brothers, bowing down to him. Genesis 37:9 says, then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. Listen, he said, I had another dream, and this time the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. Question 91. How many silver pieces was Joseph sold for? A. 20. B. 30. C. 40. D. 50. Answer A. 20. Joseph was sold for 20 pieces of silver. Genesis 37:28 says, so when the Midianite merchants came by, his brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. Question 92. Who advised against killing Joseph and suggested throwing him into a pit instead? A. Judah. B. Reuben. C. Simeon. D. Levi. Answer B. Reuben. Reuben advised against killing Joseph and suggested throwing him into a pit. Genesis 37:22 says, don't shed any blood. Throw him into this cistern here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him. Reuben intended to rescue Joseph later. Question 93. Who were the baker and cupbearer in Pharaoh's court? A. Servants who worked in the palace. B. Officials imprisoned with Joseph. C. Members of Pharaoh's army. D. Egyptians who rebelled against Pharaoh. Answer B. Officials imprisoned with Joseph. The baker and the cupbearer were officials imprisoned with Joseph. Genesis 40:2-3 says, Pharaoh was angry with his 2 officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the same prison where Joseph was confined. Question 94. What was the interpretation of the cupbearer's dream? A. He would be restored to his position. B. He would die within 3 days. C. He would lose his family. D. He would be imprisoned for life. Answer: A. He would be restored to his position. Joseph interpreted the cupbearer's dream, telling him he would be restored to his position in 3 days. Genesis 40:13 says, "Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your position, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer." Question 95. How old was Joseph when he began to serve Pharaoh? A. 20 years old. B. 25 years old. C. 30 years old. D. 35 years old. Answer: C. 30 years old. Joseph was 30 years old when he began to serve Pharaoh. Genesis 41:46 says, Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Question 96. What position did Joseph hold in Egypt? A. High priest. B. Pharaoh's advisor. C. Governor of Egypt. D. General of the army. Answer: C. Governor of Egypt. Joseph became the governor of Egypt, second in command to Pharaoh. Genesis 41:40 says, "You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you." Question 97. Who was the Pharaoh during Joseph's time in Egypt? A. Amenhotep. B. Thutmose. C. Ramses. D. His name is not mentioned. Answer: D. His name is not mentioned. The name of the Pharaoh during Joseph's time in Egypt is not mentioned in the Bible. The story of Joseph's rise to power and relationship with Pharaoh is detailed in Genesis 41, but Pharaoh's specific identity is not provided. Question 98. How did Joseph test his brothers' honesty? A. By asking for their birthright. B. By planting his silver cup in Benjamin's sack. C. By making them swear an oath. D. By demanding they sacrifice an animal. Answer: B. By planting his silver cup in Benjamin's sack. Joseph tested his brother's honesty by planting his silver cup in Benjamin's sack. Genesis 44:2 says, "Then put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, along with the silver for his grain." This was to see how his brothers would react when Benjamin was accused of theft. Question 99. Where did Joseph want his bones to be buried? A. In Egypt. B. In Canaan. C. In Goshen. D. In the wilderness. Answer: B. In Canaan. Joseph asked for his bones to be buried in Canaan. Genesis 50:25 says, "And Joseph made the Israelites swear an oath and said, 'God will surely come to your aid, and then you must carry my bones up from this place.'" Question 100. Who were the midwives mentioned in Genesis who saved Hebrew boys? A. Rachel and Leah. B. Shiphrah and Puah. C. Sarah and Rebekah. D. Miriam and Jochebed. Answer: B. Shiphrah and Puah. Shiphrah and Puah were the midwives who saved Hebrew boys. Exodus 1:15-17. Genesis provides context, says, "The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah, 'When you are helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on the delivery stool, if you see that the baby is a boy, kill him, but if it is a girl, let her live.'" The midwives, however, feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them to do. They let the boys live.